Hello and welcome to the F1 show with me, Hugh Hattrick. I do hope you're well and having a fantastic week. And my goodness, there's lots of news to go over today as I've checked all the websites for the latest F1 news roundup. So let's get started. And a big thank you to everyone who's been watching and listening. And please share the program out to your friends and F1 fans. And if you want to come on the show, just send me an email at info@hughhattrick.com and we can get you on the show and you can share this studio with our F1 fanatics. So let's get started with the news. Now, the first bit of news that I thought was really, really good news is we've got some great new tracks coming next year, and it's going to be the Turkish Grand Prix. Remember, they had the Turkish Grand Prix during COVID. Turkey managed to do it, and now they have managed to secure a 5-year deal starting next year because it looks like the Dutch Grand Prix, the contract has expired and hasn't been renewed so far, so that will replace it. And also Portugal, the Portuguese Grand Prix, which I think will be at Portimao, which is really quite a popular track, very, very popular in Le Mans Ultimate and some of the racing simulators. And when we had it a few years ago, it was during COVID again. It was a fantastic race, a great track with lots of kind of crazy accidents. I remember that first lap with Kimi Raikkonen, who overtook about 12 people on the first lap. So definitely some great news there. And of course, it's got that turn four, isn't it? One of those incredible four corners where they fly really fast, where it was the Red Bulls of Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel that had those great coming together, some great battles there. So yeah, in fact, it's normally been a great Grand Prix to watch. So we've got some great news. The Turkish Grand Prix will be back and we'll start to see races from next year. Now, the next headline is that Alan McNish is taking over, has been appointed the new Audi F1 racing director with immediate effect. And I actually spoke to Alan McNish last year. He was at an event at Knockhill in Fife. It was the big Colin McRae rally event. And I actually had a wee chance to speak to him. Little did I know that he would be taking effect of the Audi F1 team. But who better a man than Alan McNish, who has, of course, done very well in WEC and was a Formula One driver as well. In fact, he was the one that did the testing for Ayrton Senna's McLaren back in the early 90s at Suzuka. In fact, he even featured on a video showing what kind of testing work he was doing. And yeah, he's never really quite managed to make it in Formula One as a driver, but very experienced, very successful with Audi already. And I think he will be extremely good. Now, it was saying, following that move, Audi's F1 CEO Mattia Binotto confirmed that he would add the team principal title to his portfolio and discharge most of the duties required of that position. But also that he would mostly be factory based, requiring someone to take the leadership role during race weekend. So that is why Alan McNish is going to be the director. So what he said for the future, I think we're not looking for a new team principal, Binotto said at the time. I will keep the role, but I will need someone to support me at the race weekends because I will not always be at the race weekend myself. I need to focus most at the factory where there is most to transform. I would say not only to develop, but to transform. So certainly a support at the race weekend is required. And that is what Mattia Bono is thinking of Alan McNish. But what do you think? I think it's quite a good move. It'll be interesting. Another Scotsman there running a team, and he'll no doubt be interviewed by the Sky Sports group every week, and we'll have to let them know how that car is going. Audi has done okay so far, considering they took over the Sauber team. They've done quite well. It's amazing how many owners that's had, isn't it? I mean, just a couple of years ago, it was Alfa Romeo, and then it went back to Sauber, and then now it is Audi. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, can they climb up the grid and how well can they do this year? But certainly they're outperforming Cadillac. It's a new team and it's starting completely afresh. But we'll have to see how they get on. But yeah, a good appointment there. The Brits are always close in Formula One, aren't they? So it's great to see Alan McNish to get that position. Now, in other Formula One news, Zak Brown, the CEO of McLaren, has once again brought up the issue of two-team ownership in Formula One. For example, Red Bull has also got Racing Bulls. And although he's kind of going along with that now, there has been renewed interest because Mercedes has got interest in buying a stake in Alpine that's potentially up for sale. And if they got that stake, that would mean in effect they would have a B team. So Zach Brown says that in any other official sport, that would go against the fairness regulations, and therefore Formula One is just the same. It shouldn't really have teams that own two racing teams in the same formula. As what happens if one is going to be, potentially winning the championship and one maybe coming runner up. It would be a little bit maybe against the interests of the sport. And now, if Red Bull have that and then Mercedes have that, you've got potentially four teams that could be organised, four different racing cars with just two teams. Would it make a huge difference? I don't know. Maybe it's being a little bit pernickety. I can understand it might annoy other teams who can only afford to do one, especially as they're in the cost cap era. I have to say, though, I'm not massively bothered because I like to see lots of competitive racing cars out there on the grid. But let me know what you think. We still haven't had anyone comment yet on our podcast side. We've got it on the YouTube side many, many times over, which is great. But on Podbean, it would be great for you to give us a comment and let us know what you think. So there's quite a bit going on. We've got, of course, Miami coming up a week on Sunday. It's going to be later on in the evening. It starts about 9 o'clock UK time, I think it is. I will confirm that when we get it through, but I think the race will actually start at 9 o'clock on Sunday. There is, of course, a sprint race on Saturday, which is earlier in the day, and we will confirm that next week in the Racing Roundup. But hopefully, I think I've covered everything. And thank you very much for watching and for listening on Podbean and the other platforms. Have a wonderful week. Drive fast. Don't crash. And we'll see you very soon. Bye just now.